Good morning, you two. Today we are going to be reading a book called Possum Magic, which was written by Mem Fox and illustrated, which means the pictures were drawn by Julie Vivas. Mem Fox is a really famous Australian author, and this book here, Possum Magic, was actually the first story that she ever published, and she published it 34 years ago, so a lot older than you guys. She wrote this before you were even born. She's also written other books which you might have read before or your parents might have read, such as Who Knows Where's the Green Sheep or Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. Yep, very good. Okay, so let's get back to Possum Magic. Just by looking at the cover page, what information does that give us about the book? Let's start with the title and then use the picture to help us with our understanding. So possum, and here we have a picture of possums. And we also have stars flowing out onto the page. What could the stars symbolize? Anybody? Remember to use the title as well. Magic. Very good. So we can articulate that the book could be about possums and magic. Okay, and what can we see about this possum here? She's a lot bigger than this possum, isn't she? She's a little bit fatter, and she's also got glasses, which could make her a little bit older. So maybe we could think that this could be a child possum, and this could be a possum that's a little bit older, couldn't it? And we know that this is a story because it's not a non-fiction text. It doesn't give us factual information, but it's a narrative and it's an imaginative story. So that means that it will have characters, setting, a conflict or a problem, and a resolution or a solution. So we've got some characters, and there's also going to be a setting. And what could we predict about what the setting is going to be? I'll give you a hint. Remember, where do possums live? In a bush, in the outback, in a tree. Very good answer, Joey. Okay, so we could maybe think that the setting could be in a bush or in the outback, couldn't we, class? Yep. And what country do you reckon it would be based in? I'll give you a hint. Look at the type of animals that are on the front cover. Australia, excellent answer. So there's a typical Australian koala here hanging off the branch, isn't there? Very good. So far we can maybe predict that it could be based in Australia, in a bush, and that's quite relevant, isn't it, year two? Because we've been learning about Australia the last couple of weeks, haven't we? And what sort of places have we learnt about in Australia? Can anyone answer? Yeah, Western Australia. There's Hobart, very good. And that's in, what state's that in? Tasmania. Excellent answer, Amanda. And then we have, what else do we have, class? Sydney, great. And what sort of landmarks are in Sydney? Can anybody else give me a hint? The Harbour Bridge or the Opera House, excellent. Okay, so maybe they might feature some of these locations in the book. Shall we find out? Okay, let's turn over the page. Possum Magic for Chloe. So that's who Mem Fox has written the book for. And already, without even beginning to read year two, we can see a bush. So here's a tree, and here's Grandma Poss and Hush. And remember, you two, what did we say we have when we have the S, and the H, and we put them together, that makes a sh sound. So that's why Hush has the sh sound at the end, because she's got the S and the H together. Okay, let's begin. Once upon a time, but not very long ago, deep in the Australian bush lived two possums. Their names were Hush and Grandma Poss. Grandma Poss made bush magic. She made wombats blue and kookaburras pink. Kookaburras? Kookaburra, that's a long word, lots of syllables. Let's clap out the syllables. Kookaburra. Wow. She made dingoes smile and emus shrink. But the best magic of all was the magic that made Hush invisible. And here we can see Hush. And Hush has lost her tail here. And here she's only got a visible head left. And here Hush is completely invisible. Okay, let's see what happens. What could happen if Hush is invisible, do we think? Let's find out. Could there be problems maybe? Let's have a look. What adventures Hush had. Because she couldn't be seen, she could be squashed by koalas. Here's the koala, an Australian animal. Because she couldn't be seen, she could slide down kangaroos. Whoop, down she goes, down the tail, and kangaroos and echidnas and koalas. So we're getting an image of the Australian animal culture here, aren't we, Year 2? And there's Hush, all invisible. Because she couldn't be seen, she was safe from snakes, which is why Grandma Poss had made her invisible in the first place. So here she is hiding from the snake. And this is a really good example, Year 2, of the technique that we learnt last lesson. Does anyone remember what it was? Salience. Excellent answer, Jeremy. So what is the salient image here? The snake. And the snake is salient because it's huge. It's very big. It's a very big image on the page. It takes up both pages. It's also in the center. It has a central position and it's filled with bright colors to attract our attention, doesn't it? It also contrasts to the white. All the colors contrast to the background and it's directly in our line of sight, which makes it a perfect example of a salient image. And here's Hush. She just blends into the background because she's white. So in this picture, the snake is the salient image. Okay, so she's hiding from the snake. But here we go. One day, quite unexpectedly, Hush said, "Grandma, I want to know what I look like. Please, could you make me visible again?" "Of course I can," said Grandma Poss, and she began to look through her magic books. So see here, Hush doesn't have a reflection like Grandma Poss because she's invisible. What's going to happen? She looked into this book and she looked into that. There was magic for thin and magic for fat, magic for tall and magic for small. But the magic she was looking for wasn't there at all. What can we see here? What's similar about the last parts of these phrases? They rhyme. Excellent. So here we have the onset, which is the first letter, and then the end of it is the rhyme. So the first two lines we have the at, which rhymes, and the second two lines we have the all, which rhymes. So what's going to happen to poor little Hush? Grandma Poss looked miserable. "Don't worry, Grandma," said Hush. "I don't mind." But in her heart of hearts, she did. All night long, Grandma Poss thought and thought. The next morning, just before breakfast, she shouted, "It's something to do with food! People food, not possum food. But I just can't remember what. We'll have to try and find it." So later that day, they left the bush where they'd always been to find what it was that would make Hush seen. So what do we think's going to happen here, you two? They're leaving the bush, and where do you think they're going to go? Maybe to the places we've been learning about around Australia. Let's find out. They ate Anzac biscuits in Adelaide, Mornay and Minties in Melbourne, steak and salad in Sydney, and punkum scones in Brisbane. Hush remained invisible. "Don't lose heart," said Grandma Poss. "Let's see what we can find in Darwin." It was there in the far north of Australia that they found a Vegemite sandwich. Grandma Poss crossed her claws and crossed her feet. Hush breathed deeply and began to eat. "A tail! A tail!" shouted both possums at once. For there it was, a brand new visible tail. And here we can see another salient image. So Grandma Poss and Hush are right in the middle, and look at Hush's tail, contrasting the white. And here are the humans just blending into the background. So they're definitely not the salient image. The two possums are. And look, she's ate a bite of the Vegemite sandwich and her tail's become visible. What's going to happen next? Later, on a beach in Perth, they ate a piece of pavlova. Hush's legs appeared. So did her body. "You look wonderful, you precious possum," said Grandma Poss. Next stop, Tasmania, and over the sea they went. So where's Tasmania again, you two? That's right, at the bottom of Australia. So here we can see Hush and Grandma Poss with Hush's visible tail eating the pavlova. And then Grandma Poss might have had a bit too much pavlova here. It's all over the top and she's having a rest. And here they're sailing in the seas to go to Tasmania. What could they find there? In Hobart, late one night in the kitchens of the casino, they saw a lamington on a plate. Hush closed her eyes and nibbled. Grandma Poss held her breath and waited. "It's worked! It's worked!" she cried, and she was right. Hush could be seen from head to tail. Grandma Poss hugged Hush and they both danced. Here we go round the lamington plate till early in the morning. There they are dancing, so happy. From that time onwards, Hush was visible. But once a year, on her birthday, she and Grandma Poss ate a Vegemite sandwich, a piece of pavlova, and half a lamington, just to make sure that Hush stayed visible forever. And she did. And that's the end of the story. So now you two, if you'd like to go back to your seats, I've got some comprehension questions and some activities we can complete in relation to Possum Magic. Thank you.